I definitely don't feel like we deserve to be charting and documentary on Apple, but we are. We hit 61 on Apple for documentary. So.
Yeah,
nice.
That's badass.
I feel like there's real documentary podcasts out there that probably are a little pissy about.
They're like, what the fuck
Anybody
is
that's
this?
behind us is like, this is bullshit.
Secretly, it's a casting couch.
That's a movie we need to make, the haunted casting couch. Filled with the shame of thousands of people.
Billions of kids died on this couch.
The theme was supposed to be softcore.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to the United States of Paranormal Podcast, your weekly podcast where we go through the United States of America and hit up everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal. This is Felipe Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, also known as The Road to New Boze. So this week we have Ashley on.
Hello.
Ashley needs we got Matt Frisby, and we had Creepy Kitty, we got Boze, all these people, Golden Jay, the Skywalker,
Well,
Chico Noise. Like, she needs some kind of generic, creepy name, like
well, I do have a
Slashley or
nickname,
something.
but it's not really creepy. Like, Joel calls me Cherry. Like, that's just, I don't know why. He just started doing that when we first got together, so it's kind of just been my thing. But that's kind of our thing, but I'm
I want to
cool.
steal your man's thing.
I don't care.
So that's not special anymore.
I use that for, a lot of
Cherry kinda
usernames,
sounds like
so
a
it's okay.
radio host from, the early 90s, late.
I think it was my
late
red
80s.
hair that gave him the idea.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Cherry, and you're listening to RKKO.
I fucking hope Cherry doesn't sound like that.
Wouldn't that be
It's like Dr. Girlfriend
Dude.
from fucking Venture Bros. Like,
Have you-
hey, Dr.
Have you ever seen the Netflix original Hubie Halloween?
Oh, God. I wish I could say I hadn't. But I have.
Me and my son loved that movie
God,
so much.
Okay, Felipe, we're going to ask you to leave.
My terrible taste. I had a bunch of good films in the beginning.
Yeah,
but
no,
this
you
one is
nailed
just-
it the first time, and then you come at me with Hoobie's Halloween in the fucking sequel
I love
episode.
it. I love it because
Ugh.
I grew up on Adam Sandler movies, and the fact that Shaquille O'Neal's in there and he does this sultry sexy woman voice. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, he's the radio show host that sounds
Yeah.
like a hot lady, and then it
And
ends
his
up being
wife
Shaquille
comes-
O'Neal.
What?
It's like, hey, all you guys. And then they walk in the studio, and Shaq's behind the thing, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
He's like, oh, is that your real voice?
Oh, God. Hoobie
This is my
Halloween,
real
man.
voice.
Oh, that's just. That was a movie. That was a movie. This is Adam Sandler doing Adam Sandler, and just
This is a great movie.
Yeah.
character choice.
I can't stand Adam Sandler personally. I'm
It's
sorry,
almost
but it's-
like you remember Billy Madison, the scene where he's sitting in the bathtub and he's like, "Hello there, Mr. Swan."
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Movie Halloween is like that voice in the tub became a character.
That's what I love about that.
That is
movie.
basically it. It is that little character he did in the tub became a guy who fucking does not trust anything spooky.
I have fond memories of Billy Madison and what was the golf movie?
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah, Billy Madison
Happy
and Happy
Gilmore.
Gilmore and 8 Crazy Nights.
8 Crazy Nights was
I
not.
can still remember all the songs from 8 Crazy Nights.
Oh yeah, and everything else.
My favorite was the
if that
mascot
guy ever
singing.
wipes his ass with the wrong hand.
Yes.
I do.
Oh no, my favorite was the beginning song and the logo song in the mall. Let it out, Davey. Oh yeah, this is good shit.
Yeah, every other Adam Sandler movie, I
No.
can't get behind. Now I will say I have not seen The Cobbler, which I heard good things about. And that's not a comedy.
Big Daddy's my all-time favorite.
And
Uncut.
I'm about to say I think he was in Uncut Gems, which I heard good things about as well. I have not seen his serious films. all I
Punch
can
Drunk Love
recall.
is pretty good.
I
I
got
enjoyed
to
that
see
one.
Punch Drunk
It's
Love
good.
when it came out, which means I was like 11 or 12. And my mom and all the military moms were like, "Oh, it's a new Adam Sandler movie. It's gonna be something like the kids will laugh at." And
Military
you go,
moms and
Punch
Adam
Drunk
Sandler, am
Love
I right?
was not
Not at all.
was not an Adam Sandler movie. Like
I think
to
I
the-
liked
like
it
the
because
teen.
he wasn't like his typical self in that
Like,
one.
Yeah,
Goofy.
but my favorite movies for him has always been Big Daddy and 50 First Dates.
Oh, yeah,
God,
50
with
First
Drew
Dates
Barrymore.
Yeah,
is
I
great.
fucking love both those.
I
movies.
wasn't. I mean, I don't.
Where he's crying, driving the boat.
Well, you got Sean Astin in 50 First Dates with his mesh t-shirts and,
and
he's
his-
on roids and everything.
And his lisp.
And his lisp. Oh, he fucking killed it.
You want to go right now?
I think I've
his
seen
ass,
that movie
Dad.
once, and it's not like I have anything against it. I don't care
It's
for
fucking
it.
Sean Astin asking the doctor if it's normal for him to be lactating. And
I
the
know.
doctor's like, just get off the roids, son. And he's like, I'm not on roids.
And I will say I liked Big Daddy.
Fucking love that movie.
Big Daddy's good.
That's one of the first movies
when
that ever
I
made
was
me feel
younger,
emotional as a kid.
I know.
But
I was like,
I don't know if I'd still like it today.
Oh, it's so
Same
good.
thing with Anger Management.
oh my God.
That's
Jack
one of my
Nicholson?
favorites as well.
That is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mainly
Hands
because
down
of Jack
one, yeah.
Nicholson.
I have to. Yeah, I remember Jack Nicholson, but I don't remember like. I'd have to rewatch that film and decide whether or not I still like it as an adult or not.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot
know
of
what you
debauchery,
mean.
but like their chemistry, Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson's chemistry in
That-
movie is,
yes.
it's what
It's-
makes
they
that movie.
vibe
It's
really
just,
well
like,
together.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Big Daddy holds up. I still watch it all the time. I fucking love it.
I might watch it again
It's
one
got
day.
a great
We'll see.
cast, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch many films, so it's hard to make.
can't
the time.
tell.
You not watch films, are you? Don't you teach a film class?
I'm a busy man. I got stuff to do.
I wouldn't have guessed.
no, right? No way.
The problem is I don't get much time to myself during the day, and usually that during the daytime that I do have to myself, I'm working, and then in the evening when I do have personal time, I'm playing games with people and being social and not watching stuff while I'm
On
playing
that
games.
note, I seen that you messaged me on Discord the other night asking.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanna go on record apologizing to you because I didn't. You joined my boat and I left
Yeah.
promptly, and I'm not like we play Sea of Thieves together. We have since
Oh,
Alpha.
I'm familiar with Sea
I
of
fucking
Thieves.
love this game. One of my favorite games ever. Last night was date night, and like I pitched date night to Kayla. I was like, why? She was like, let's figure something out. And I was like, how about we get on 2 separate sloops? And this is people that don't play Sea of Thieves isn't gonna give a shit about this conversation,
Yeah.
but I'm telling it anyways. Because it kind of led into something spooky. So I was like, for date night, what we'll do is we will compete to see who gets to pick the movie we watch at the end of the night. We both get on a sloop, our own sloops, and we have what do I say, 2 hours and 30 minutes, about thereabouts, to see who can get the most loot on their boat. Not monetarily. It doesn't have to be monetarily, but like
Items.
And while we're getting that set up, Matt joined my thing, and we were still server hopping at that point, so I was
Yeah.
just like swapped and dropped Matt out, and then I fucking swapped my crew to where nobody could join. And like we were on a time management, so I was like he'll understand that I'm doing something, like because he'll see this.
Well, I didn't try to rejoin you after you.
Yeah, I
had
kind of figured he'd get the picture.
Yeah.
But like we set out to compete to see who could get the most loot, like 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then the winner gets to pick a movie.
Okay.
To be fair, if a sloop didn't try to big dick me and fuck with me, because like it was out there and we were on the same server together and she saw it, I did not go attack them because I was like, I got to get more stuff. But this grade 5 Reaper decided they were gonna come fuck with me, and I ended up sinking them, and that is the only reason I won. Because literally at the end of the thing, she had already done a temple.
Wait,
and
the only reason you won is to do the only thing you can do to win?
well, because like on the time frame that I was on, if he was messing with me and everything,
Oh, you won against Kayla.
I wouldn't have won against Kayla because she had already got to her temple and got her stuff out. She went and did a Gold Warriors
Okay.
temple, which has a bunch of loot inside of it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was messing with me, so I wasn't doing my stuff that I needed to do. And if it hadn't been for me sinking him and getting all his stuff, because I managed to get to my temple and get it open, but our timer ran out and I didn't have my stuff on my boat. So I would have been screwed. But me sinking him is what made me win, which leads to me getting to pick my movie, which is in the spooky-ass category. I got to pick The Erotic Blair Witch Project. That's the movie I picked. And you want to talk about horror movie right there.
Oh, man.
This movie,
Full
first
circle.
of all, this is definitely classified as Skinamax because it would be like something that would come on late night cable television on a sketchy channel. Softcore porn. It is what it is. But it's like they made a handy cam movie back in the 90s to be like the Blair Witch, but with boobs.
Yeah.
This movie had some weird fucking subplots going on to it.
Listen, I'm sure we all have fond memories about HBO late night.
Waking up
and
at 3 a.m.
when you're way too young, experiencing your first softcore porn. For
Before
me,
you
it was
even
Lord of the
understand it.
G-string.
Lord of the
Oh, wow.
G-string. That's a good one.
I do not have those experiences as a child.
Oh,
We got-
Mine
I
was
do.
Adult Swim.
I got
Listening
another
to
story
the
about
fucking outro
Cinemax.
of Inuyasha. Full blast.
I got another Skinemax story that we can circle back to, but I digress. Like, this movie had weird subplots because it had your basic Blair Witch plot. Like, they're like, oh, it's rumored there's this witch out here, but instead of being that stuff, it's like she was so horny the town kicked her out and put her in the woods. and then it's like they interviewed the scariest looking people in real life, like this guy that had like meth teeth, and he was like just telling his story, and it was like, and ever since I've been hunting for the Blair Witch because I want to get that horny again, and it's just like, and he had meth teeth, like scary meth teeth, and it was his real teeth, and I was like, oh, did they just find the scariest fucks they could find and like read this?
How are you gonna be?
I mean, it's realistic.
How are you gonna be horny after watching that?
But while they're on their way driving, they're clearly fucking with the radio, and the radio station comes in with like a report, and they're still turning the knob, and you see the station changing, but the story doesn't change. It's just like, and the subplot to this thing is like, he's like, in breaking news, a gorilla has escaped from the zoo. And you're like, what? You're like, what the fuck? This clearly isn't going to tie into the plot, right? Oh, later on, well, these chicks are getting like every now and then, like we want to talk about earlier in the other episode, we talked about the scary noise that was the tripods in War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, when the Blair Witch's horny magic is taking over people, it does this weird jarring noise that sounds like a guy in the woods going,
God.
with like a sound effect on it. And
Nice.
so when that hits, somebody's about to get hit with like a mean case of the hornies.
Uh-huh.
And so this
Case of the
happens, and
hornies.
two of these girls get hit by the hornies in the wood. It's 3 girls camping together. One of the other girls off doing whatever.
Uh-huh.
And they get hit by the hornies, and they sit a camera down, right?
Mhm.
Well, you're like, the shot's way off in the distance. You're like, well, that's like, how that's a horrible shot. But and you hear a faint,
Oh
No,
my
no.
did you see a gorilla walk up?
There it is.
And this motherfucker picks up the camera. And he starts filming them. And like they don't notice him. Like one of the girls goes like, "Do you hear that?" And the gorilla is all of 2 feet away from them, holding the camera and filming them while making gorilla noises, like hardcore gorilla noises.
Oh, that's amazing.
And like the lady's like, "Do you hear something?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the 6 foot tall gorilla 2 feet away from you filming." And like he spontaneously pops up throughout it. Like he just at one point he pops up, finds a bra in the woods, and he gets excited and he walks off. He walks off with one of the cameras later on. You just hear him periodically out through this movie of the erotic Blair Witch Project subplot gorilla with
Oh
like
my
a promising career in film.
Oh wow.
It was but
Promising
then,
career in found footage film.
to find out like I had this movie in mind because this is a movie I saw when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, it became a franchise. And the 4th one is the Erotic Blair Witch Project. I shit you not, I cannot make this up. In space.
Oh my god.
And they Star Wars Episode 1'd it. They got in, they talked about it, like there was these things that happened in the 90s that we thought was a curse by an erotic witch. But it turns out it was just a virus.
Oh my god.
And you're like,
They're going
Like-
in so many directions with this.
I was like,
I know,
okay,
right?
I'm sold. I will. I am
Immediately.
going to watch 2 and 3 just to get to 4.
So you're gonna watch these movies and then shit on Adam Sandler?
'Cause these movies know what they are. They're a little confused. I don't know why
they're
the gorilla.
not,
I want to know.
they're
If,
not trying
Sharknado?
to
I want to know if the gorilla comes back too.
impress anybody.
I want to
The
know if
gorilla
the
in
gorilla
space.
comes back. I want to know if he gets to space too. But I need to watch 2, 3, and 4.
Like Sharknado.
Do people still make softcore porn?
Oh,
Is that? I mean,
I'm
OnlyFans
sure.
exist, yes, but I mean like these these productions.
as long
like
as
that.
Whoever
cable
has, like,
exists,
Cable
softcore
TV.
porn will exist. Because there's people that are like, well, it's not really porn,
I know,
so it's not bad. It's
Jesus
so,
is looking, but
I know this isn't a porn podcast, and I'm apologizing, but dude, like it is.
I have seen
As long
some.
as I can't
Soft-
see everything,
it
it doesn't
was-
count.
It was like clearly they're like, listen, it's softcore.
It's fine. This is a softcore porn
You-
podcast.
yeah, they're like, you can see boobs, and you
nothing else.
can mime stuff, but you don't mime it good. Be like, if you're going downstairs, you better be hitting like right below belly button, like clearly nowhere near the bits. And you're just like, it's just like as an adult, you're like, oh man, you're not even trying, dog. But as like a preteen, that stuff pops on. You're like, this is
intense.
This is the real stuff, man.
It's like, oh, so this is my sexual awakening.
Yeah.
He's turning that cap around. It's like, fucking Ash Ketchum, this shit, man. Come on. It's go time.
So, moral of the story is I wanted pirating, so we watched the Erotic Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
And now I have to watch 2, 3, and 4 because I got to know if the gorilla gets to space.
You have to.
I will say, I did not try to join you or anything after you left.
See, I told you he'd get it. He'd understand.
I was like, okay, he's probably server hopping to find a good server. He may hop in the Discord once he finds something. But also, Kayla wasn't showing up on the Discord, so I was like, okay, maybe they've got people over, and Logan doesn't want to deal with them, but he doesn't want to get on comms because of it. So, whatever, I'll let him be. And then I just played Fallout 76 with Kane.
This is one of the cryptids in it, right?
It does. It's got Mothman.
That's
There's a whole Mothman event.
Well, there's
going on
more
right
than
now.
Mothman there. There's also like a mole person and stuff, too.
So I would like to take this moment, because it is free on Xbox Game Pass, to try and convince y'all to join us on Fallout 76 sometime.
That is a multi... I've never played
It is
Fallout.
multiplayer.
I have never played any Fallouts.
Well, this could be a good time. It had a very bad rollout, and it's been a couple years since it came out.
As do most games nowadays.
Yeah. It seems it's pretty fun, and it feels like playing a Fallout game, and the multiplayer aspect makes it really fun. And now I will take this branching off point to mention, because you also haven't played Skyrim, right? Isn't that correct?
I never played Skyrim.
A big multiplayer mod just released for Skyrim.
You using this podcast
Like
to
you have
sell me
no
on games?
excuses anymore.
See, my thing is I have not been since my days in Sega. I have not been a Solitude gamer.
Well, that's
I liked when I finally got a PlayStation 2 after everybody else had had one forever. All the games I played were basically multiplayer. I was playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai. I was playing War of the Monsters. I was playing Rad.
Oh, I get it. I have a hard time playing single player games now as well, because again, that time I get to myself when my son goes to sleep, I'd rather spend it being social and doing social.
Right.
Last solo player game I played was I was trying to do a playthrough of the original BioShock, which I love.
Yeah.
But I just never made it through all of it.
But now I had the idea of we can set you up as the host for Skyrim, and you can go through the story and the side quests and stuff, and we can fuck around and gang on everybody. And we can create, because you can play with up to 5 people.
We are not
We
the
can
people.
create an absurd party in that game.
We are not the people, video game wise, that you roll up on in anything, because we are the worst kind of human beings in video games. Literally the other
Ruthless.
night, I hid on this thing. This is big Athena thing, which is like a higher up mission with good payout, with loot that is the only way you raise up in rank in a certain faction. And you can tuck, which is like hiding, but you can, like, there's a emote where you put a barrel over yourself and you just look like a barrel. And I just sat right where these people were about to get they were doing a PvE thing. And there was a certain item they needed to finish this quest. They were at the end of the quest. Now, I wanted the chest, which wasn't quest oriented at all, just pays out good. So I got my chest. And I was like, I go to leave. I was like, got my chest, I go to leave. And I'm like, wait. And I set it down. I went over to the PvE item that was going to finish her thing. I was like, I'm taking this too. And then this guy comes by me later after I've already sold the chest, and I still have his quest item. Well, technically, I hid his quest item right by where they were, and they didn't know it was there. And they're like, listen, I was like, no. They're like, what are you doing? You want to do this? And I was like, no, I already took your thing and sold it. And like, oh, cool, but can we have our quest item back? And I was like, yeah, sure. I buried it over on this island. Go get it. So they leave where the item is actually hidden. And they go there, and I just pick it up, and I take it, and I just rose from Titanic that shit. And I just dropped it in the ocean and just kept on
Not to
trucking.
mention the other night, we stopped. You convinced that ship to anchor and stop to let us board, because he told them if they just gave us one item, we'd let them be. We didn't let them be.
Well, to be fair, it's a game about pirates. Don't trust a pirate.
Yeah.
It's not my fault you panicked and listened to me. When the person's been chasing you for 30 minutes, like, anchor, give me one specific thing, and we'll let you go. And you're like, sounds legit. And you throw the anchor down, that's on you.
Yeah,
Take what you can,
and
give
they had
nothing
hit it.
back.
Yeah,
They
no.
were clever. They had buried their item, and so they said, "Hey, if you let us keep our stuff, we'll let him go off and turn the stuff in. We'll take you to I'll take you to where it's buried."
Yeah, and I told him I was like, or I can kill you and you'll drop your map. And the guy was like, oh fuck, it works like that, doesn't it? And I was like, yes, it does. And I shoot him, and he's like, fair enough. You guys got us, son of a bitch. So it is what it is.
And those are some of the more mild things we've done to people in that game.
God.
But we're also not volatile to where we're yelling at people and being mean for the
Dude,
most
like
part.
Yeah.
you
early
run into
days
some
of
sketchy
Xbox,
people
like Halo
online.
Online, dude. Like those for like multiplayer games. Like that was the biggest multiplayer game I've ever played.
Oh yeah,
was
Halo
Oh, yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was playing on that, dude. The freaking chat rooms on that shit.
That was back when Halo 3 originally hit. That was before party was a thing.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to talk to people, everybody was out there. So you
I
met
miss
some
those days.
people,
And you met some racist.
and then
Yeah,
and that
you
still
met every
happens.
10-year-old that learned the
Yep.
N-word for
Yeah.
the first
That
time.
happens in Sea of
Dude.
Thieves. Like if you find somebody with an open mic, it's more likely than not they're going to call you a racial slur.
Oh,
The
yeah.
other night we were having a good night fighting with somebody. It was going good, and then it went south hard, and we were like, "Whoa!" And then got some
where's-
people permabanned.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was all friendly, like, "Oh yeah, you sunk my ship. Hey, can you give me a ride to the nearest port?"
And
I was like, "No!" And it's like, "You." Proceeds to scream slurs at us.
I'm not letting
not
you on my
okay.
boat. It's like you just let pirates on your boat, and how'd it pay out for you? I'm not doing it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, we'll pull away from video games.
Uh,
But Ashley,
Yes.
favorite horror movies, top 3?
Oh goodness. I would see. I'm more of a TV show person, and I
Fair.
fell in love with Haunting on Hill House. Y'all keep talking about it, and I'm like, it makes me want to go rewatch it.
Eventually, Matt will finish.
I'd like to just watch
I loved
it.
the
I've
first
never-
season.
I haven't even watched
He's
it.
only got 2 episodes in.
Also,
Yeah.
I'm like really bad at remembering things if I only watch it once. So I probably need to rewatch a bunch of things, including that one. And I think I heard y'all mention what's that movie that has the vampires at the end? From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till
Yeah.
Dawn.
I love that movie.
That was a great
It's
movie.
definitely up there.
I've
and
heard
I
great
recently
things about
rewatched
the TV
it.
show based on it.
It's
The
so
best one.
good. Oh my god,
I have not seen it.
It's
so.
really, really good. I need to finish that as well. I had gotten pretty far in, but they really drag everything out even further. I mean, the movie's already kind of slow, but yeah, it's really good.
That movie just does something that I love in film that
The
you
feet
don't
scenes?
see often. You what?
the feet scenes.
Oh,
are in
no.
every
Oh yeah,
Quentin
no,
Tarantino
of course.
Well,
film?
anything with Tarantino.
It's I think another movie that does does this great is At World's End,
Oh god, yeah.
where you think it's one movie going into it, and it spends like half the movie making you think it's this,
Like building
so,
it up to it.
Yeah, so Dusk Till Dawn, you think it's a movie where they're on the run from the law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had
And
no
then-
idea what I was getting into when I watched
Yeah.
that
And then you get
movie.
to that bar, and shit just goes
Yes.
bonkers.
Yes.
Well, it's like Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Cabin in the
It was
Woods.
so much deeper. It's like, what?
Yeah, it
the-
starts off like this, and then you start seeing these people in the office, and you're like, what the fuck are they on about?
I
And
know.
then all of a sudden it's like, all right, who's got mermaids? And you're like, what the fuck? And then you got fucking Thor fucking hitting the force field when he goes to jump the
Yeah.
canyon.
Yeah.
I'm
and you're
gonna
just
save
like,
everybody.
and you're like, all
What
right,
the-
fine.
Yeah,
It's just-
Yeah.
That one with the unicorn, where the unicorn comes in for the kill. It's like, oh shit, there's a unicorn.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
love that scene where the guy finally gets his mermaid. They're like, man, they keep telling him like, dude, don't be upset about it. The cleanup on mermaids is horrible. And then
Yeah.
at the end, that guy's laying on the ground, and you just hear a wet slop,
No.
and it's that mermaid just slowly crawling towards him, and it bites him, and the blood starts going out of its fucking.
I know
little-
it's like breather or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I just-
fucking
I
amazing.
love films that do that, and I don't think
Yes.
there's enough that do it. But when they come, they are absolute
I
treasures.
watched
They
it in
are.
the
You
perfect
would.
setting because my roommate at the time, like, she's a movie buff. So she was making me watch all these Quentin Tarantino films. And I think this was specifically Rodriguez, something or another. I can't remember. It's like one of the people he works with a lot that did that one. But yeah, she didn't tell me anything leading up to it. And I was just like, oh, this is just some, like, drama type thing, or yeah, like you said, like running from the law, and then I could just see her like getting worked up, and I'm like, well, what's about to happen?
Uh-huh.
And the fact that it was just like a small little chunk at the end, I feel like it just didn't take up very much time. And I'm like, what? Like, my mind was just blown.
It's stuff like that it's fun to introduce friends to.
Yes,
and watch them. It's
she
like
wanted
that-
to see my reaction.
It's like that.
Yeah,
I made
that's
like
what there's. Yeah, I
I
think
made
it's
like
4.
5 people watch that documentary about that girl that was like kidnapped like 5 times by the same dude.
God.
He's one of the people I made watch
In
it.
plain sight.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that
Because
was painful to sit through, dude.
I just
was
wanted
like,
to. The whole time I was watching that thing was literally just me going, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Just over and over again. So I made people watch it.
Parents of the
Specifically-
year.
Yeah, specifically watch it with me again, so I could watch them. Because just to watch them get to the part where the dad's like, "Well, he said he needed relief, so that's what friends do for
And he
each
does
other."
that. He makes
And then just have the person I have watch just look at me and throw their hands up, and I'd be like,
What is this? What is this shit?
the dude was doinking the dad, the mom. They were letting him take the kid. It was just,
I know. It's like how.
but
Yeah.
it tracks that Matt likes movies that bury the lead like that. Because one of the comic books that Matt has always been like, I want this, and
Yes.
he had it framed on his wall for the longest time.
I still have it in frames.
Yeah.
It's not up on my wall right now, but I have it.
Marvel Apes, which is a comic book about a universe that is all the Marvel heroes, but they're all different, like monkeys and apes. Okay, so you're reading it. You've got a character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that was an ape that gets chunked into this world. And at first he's like, "Oh, this is amazing because it's a world of people like me."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Shit's a little weird." And like and like laws are a bit funky because it's primal and stuff. And like there's Spider Monkey, there's Captain Ape America, right? And you're like, "Okay, I got what's going on. And then it gets to the last issue and they M. Night Shyamalan the fuck out of you. Because you're like, "Okay, it's apes. And then it's like Captain Ape America turns around and he has vampire fangs.
What
And
the
he-
fuck is this?
And he's like, "I'm a vampire." And then there's a bunch of fucking Marvel superheroes that are monkeys and apes, and like half of them are fucking vampires. And they're like secretly taking in other non-vampire monkeys and apes and sucking the blood out of them. And it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
Based off of principle, I hate that, but I love it at the same time.
That's what's so great about it. It is the Sharknado of comic books.
Because you never see that shit
Yeah,
coming
it's like,
from a
what?
mile away. You came for Marvel Apes. You were like, "Fuck it, I'll read a book with
Yeah,
Spider
it's
Monkey
like a
and Captain
basic
America."
concept. Like, okay, it's dumb, but let's see what's going on.
Yeah,
And
like, it's
And he was
Forklift.
like,
Come on.
yes, Spider Monkey, I am a gorilla, but I'm also a vampire." Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, "Oh, fuck, you got me. I didn't
Don't
see this
say
shit
that.
coming."
yeah, it's so fantastically stupid.
Oh, it was
love it.
fucking gnarly.
A
man.
movie, if any of you haven't seen, I highly recommend watching. It's called Sorry to Bother You.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Never heard of
yes.
it.
fuck you for making me
Dude,
watch
that
that
movie-
mind fuck of a movie.
Just
That movie is amazing.
That's horror. That is
The-
horror.
I think it is.
It
It could
is.
be like
It is
psychological,
it is
like torment.
also
You're like,
it is
oh
also
my
body
God.
horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That without giving anything away, it's just a fantastic movie. The director is a friend of a friend. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
What
we got-
streaming service would that be found on?
Oh, last time
I think Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I've got Hulu. Yeah.
So we got. You said Haunting Hill House. And
Yes.
You said
From Dusk Till
From Dusk Till
Dawn. And I don't know if I have a third because like I'm not was as well versed on movies as y'all are, but something that Kayla was saying that kind of struck me a little bit as me being the same is like I kind of like the whole Saw type movies as well. Anything that's like
Grindhouse
shock
films.
value, I don't
Yeah.
know why, but
The
if I
Human
could put that in
Centipede
a
and shit
totally
like that.
different,
Oh
it's
my
like in a different
God.
category for me. But I know I don't really like jump scares. So like anything with storylines. Oh, actually, I take that back. I really liked the It movie. I mean,
OG or
because of the story and the flashbacks. I just love that stuff.
Yeah, you
Anyone
talking
that
about-
says they
Character
like jump scare
development.
movies,
You talking
that's a
about
huge red
Skarsgård?
flag.
Is
Like you can't
Skarsgård
trust them for
it
shit.
or
I mean, I've seen the
Skarsgård.
old one
Skarsgård.
and the new one. I haven't seen the second one yet. I still need to, but
So you watched the Tim Curry miniseries?
no,
Yeah.
I haven't
That's-
seen that.
That's good.
I'll have to watch that.
It's worth it. Yeah,
I
that's
just
the
like
OG.
the. I like the.
Or no, maybe it was a movie. And maybe
It's a
there
movie,
is a movie.
yeah.
There's a miniseries as well, but I'm
Huh.
thinking maybe the movie was the one that had Tim Curry and not the miniseries.
Yeah, Tim
Okay.
Curry was the original one.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
he was
okay.
definitely
But
the original.
I like that's one of those ones where it's hard to pick because they both have their merits. But I like the acting in the newer ones
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you had great kid actors and great
Yeah.
adult actors,
Yes.
which could not be said about the original ones. I really feel like the adults in the original It sucked.
Oh no,
They
I
did.
think the original It is a boring movie. I think the only fun scenes in that movie
Tim
is
Curry.
when Tim Curry is
Yeah,
doing
it's-
stuff.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
it.
the thing is they both do great jobs as Pennywise, both very different Pennywise.
Absolutely.
And the voice that fucking Skarsgård landed on was rough. That, hey there, Georgie. And it's just like, oh, no, thank you.
Oh, I'm sure that movie has scarred some
I know.
kids.
And like,
Yeah, I was pretty young when I
It's
watched
another
it.
movie where I see a kid that he get his arm ripped off, and let's look over, I'm like, good for them.
Yeah, the soundtrack,
Waving
the
with
sound
it,
design for that movie was good.
Oh,
The
man.
na-na-na-na.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I will
that
say,
was
like-
good, yeah.
Well, also, older to younger casting wise, or younger to older casting wise, they nailed it. Like, you had Finn Wolfhard
Yeah.
as a character, and then when he grows up, it's what's his name for fucking SNL?
I can't remember his name either.
Bill Hader. Bill
Oh,
Hader
okay.
played him, and that is a great young actor to old actor, like having them
You
play
can
each
see
other.
'em, like they
Uh-huh.
correlate
It
well.
fucking
Yeah.
nailed it. And also with it was Professor X who was the main character as the adult from the new X-Men movies.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
him from kid actor to him, that fucking nailed it too.
I
It's just like
actually-
it looked like it could be him. It
Yeah.
seemed
Yeah.
like him.
I actually hadn't watched Chapter 2 yet.
You need to.
It's
I
good.
know. I thought I'd get to go see it in theaters, and things just kind of happened where I didn't get to, and I just haven't had the chance to get around to watching it.
It's
but
one of those
I
things
really
where
want to see
like
it.
everybody was worried about them redoing it, but then they nailed it. It wasn't
Yeah.
like Pet Cemetery where they redid it and they whiffed it hard.
Yeah.
Because when they redid
really-
Pet Cemetery, they
They
fucking
did it so dirty, dude.
they did. They like the old one is still fucking horrifying.
Oh yeah.
And then the new one, they just went for like, I don't even know how to explain it. Really, they took one of my favorite movies. And they just took away what made it good, and they just kind of went for like body horror
yeah.
and like stuff that it wasn't.
Like shock factor, it
Yeah.
wasn't like intense or built any kind of thing. It was just like, oh,
Yeah,
straight
that's
to
why
the
I've
action.
never had interest in watching the new Evil Dead, because I love all of the original
But the
Evil
thing-
Dead films.
I liked the Evil
But-
Dead, but
Yeah.
especially because it was Sam Raimi.
Mhm.
It was him being like, "This is what I would have done if I had budget and
Yeah.
all this back in the day." He was like,
And he brought it, dude.
He was like,
He
"This is
brings
what it ended up being campy and a cult horror film because it looked campy because of what we had." He was like, "But this movie right here is what I had in mind." So he was like, "I wanted people to be fucking scared and this being gnarly and still overzealous blood." He sticks
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I think they're should be viewed separately.
Mhm.
But that new one, and I'm not a body horror fan.
Yeah.
That one
Fucking,
was-
it was a horrifying movie.
Yeah.
It was great.
Just
Well,
the
that's it.
part
I'm
where
not-
it just rains blood.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't like body horror. It's not my thing. I don't care for it. It's over the top to me. I enjoy camp. Body horror is just that's never been my thing. That's why I don't like Saw. I don't like Hostel or those other films.
I think there's a point where it becomes just like too gratuitous, and it's like, dude, they're adding.
Yeah,
There's
I
there's
see that.
intentional
Mhm.
like where there's intentional gratuity, and then there's like they were trying to like push the budgets, like let's get all of our money out of this budget. And
Well, that's it. It feels like the more blood we have, the more money we make.
Well, they can be done tastefully. There's 3 scenes. Like, to say that there's 3 scenes that like live rent free in your head for the rest of forever
yeah,
is saying something for the film itself, because there's a scene with the porcelain of a toilet in that movie. Fucking will haunt me forever. There's a scene with a fucking needle in an eyeball that will
Oh,
haunt me
no.
forever. And then there
That's
is
the
the
worst.
licking the razor blade.
yeah.
All 3 of those permanently
I think
burnt
that,
in the back of
yeah,
my
the
noodle.
one for me is the razor blade scene, dude, because it was just so like detailed and close up.
Well,
just
yeah,
like,
But that needle, it's like a needle like this long, like
Yeah.
a good like 3 inches, and this guy just is like slow pulling it out of
Oh
his
my
eye,
God.
and it's just like,
Have you ever seen Fire in the Sky?
no, I haven't.
It's a good like alien flick about like a really well documented abduction.
I'm always up for alien flicks.
Yeah, and the scene in it where they're like, he's having traumatic flashbacks of where they're experimenting on him. There's a needle in the eye scene. It's intense. You're just like, it can't happen fast enough. Get it over with. God damn it.
I have some mild form of trypnophobia, which is a fear of needles.
Okay. I thought you
I'm
said tryptophobia
Yeah.
at first.
So-
yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, tryptophobia.
Okay.
So if I watch somebody administer a shot on somebody else or myself, if I watch somebody get a tattoo, I start to pass out.
Oh.
I have the same. I didn't know this until, ironically, watching an episode of Supernatural. I cannot watch certain kinds of cuts. Usually self-mutilation, like if somebody's cutting their arm or something, fucking freaks me out. But there's a scene in Supernatural, the one where they find out that they had a brother. Remember? And it turns out they were ghouls, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was this scene. I'm sitting next to my mom in our living room in Viter, and the scene where the ghoul cuts Sam down his arm, deep.
Yeah, I remember that.
And all of a sudden, I just feel all the blood leave my face, and like I'm just like I feel white, and my mom just looks at me, and I was like, I don't feel good.
Yeah, no,
And I felt like I was gonna eat shit.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it feels if you start to pass out. You feel the blood leave your face. You start to get tunnel vision. That's exactly that's the first stage of me, and I've thankfully never passed out. But man, I've come close multiple times. It's embarrassing when that happens at a tattoo parlor.
You look like a complete bitch. You just
Yeah, like you're not
reaching
even
out for people.
Like,
you're
I
not
can't
even
control
the one
this.
getting-
It's a
like,
bodily
you're not even
reaction.
the one getting the tattoo.
Yeah.
I've been there with like significant others as they got tattoos, and I had to leave the room because I
couldn't-
It's weird
pass
like that
out.
though, because it's like self-harm triggers me, but like I can do stuff to myself and be fine, because there's been a moment where I've burnt wounds closed on myself. There's been a moment where at work I've cut a bone clip
It's almost like
out
you're
of
in
myself.
control of it.
And that
like
doesn't bug me.
yourself.
But
yeah.
now I watch somebody else do it, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can give
I'm the
myself
same
a
way.
shot and be fine. I can watch the go and everything.
How do you feel about the scene from Hereditary? Sorry, where she's
oh, I'm sitting next to the love of my life, and she can go fuck herself for making me watch that movie.
I've never seen that.
Oh,
something else that really
Ooh,
made me
that's
feel
how
bad.
it's up there.
Yeah,
Fucking
something else that made me
fantastic.
really feel bad about myself. This was after we graduated, but my wife cut her thumb off.
oh Jesus.
Oh
Ju-
my
It was still on a little bit.
It was hanging on by a tendon.
There was no lead
And
up to that.
We were at the hospital.
Well, luckily, yeah.
And the doctors came in and was kind of messing with it and inspecting it.
Yeah, look at that.
And I almost passed out in the hospital room and had to walk out and sit in the hallway.
Well, you
Dude,
lived with me. I don't know if you were home when it happened. I think Caleb was home and Derek was home. I don't know if you were when I worked at the mower place.
Oh yeah,
After-
no, I was there. No, okay. So
Oh,
my
man.
side of when you came home, like so, I was the one who was home. It was only
It was it was you and me.
because I had left. I was still in high school at the time. This is my senior year. I had got off early from school. It was like one of the last few days of school, and I was in the backyard working on a car that a friend had given me. And he comes home, I was like, dude, why are you home so early? And he was pale in the face, and he
I
looked
looked like I
sick.
just came home from Nam.
oh shit, shell shock and
Oh,
everything.
dude, it was fucking gnarly. It was a mower place and an ATV place I worked, and there's this dude working on a mower underneath it, right? Like
I already know
something,
where this is
something
going.
was happened
Not
with the
good.
fucking blades. Something I don't know what was wrong. All I know is his name was Beans, and I was near him, and I'm walking by him, and he's underneath this thing. He's working, and all of a sudden you just hear the mower kick on.
Oh,
And something had happened where he was working on it, and what he did tripped this thing, and it engaged. And he had his hand up in it, and basically what happened, it kicked on, and it cut off a good chunk half his hand. And so, blender laws, that top half his hand that got cut off is going to be coming back down.
Yeah.
So it all came back down, and people confetti. And all I hear is my boss screaming and Bean screaming. He's like, grab his legs. And I help grab his legs, and I pull him out. And when I pull him out, I see bits of people's hand, and his hand is white. And I instantly threw up right then and there while I had this man's legs in my hand.
That is an appropriate reaction.
Absolutely.
And like, it just like, I don't even remember that drive home. Like, I just got there.
You just block it out, yeah.
And like, I see Matt, and Matt's like, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, it just took me a second to explain it to him. And I was like, and I was not all right for days.
Yeah.
That is that is truly the only time I've ever seen another human being.
Like actually genuine like trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like something just happened to you and you have not coped with it.
Oh, I just sat on the couch in the
it's-
house and was just like staring
like
at my
even,
shoes. I
even
was
when my wife like took her thumb off. She, like, not to sit here and gush on my wife, she is way stronger of a human being than I am.
Well, I mean, she's still an RN, right?
No. She actually, she
cut her thumb off being a butcher.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
she stopped doing medical stuff to be a butcher because it was better paying. So
Surprise.
yeah, and unfortunately,
You're still seeing body parts.
a couple weeks after she like finished training and stuff for it, she was working, and the bandsaw she was using to cut meat, she was doing it overnight. So this is like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. The bandsaw malfunctioned, and it like lurched forward and into her thumb.
Jesus.
And my wife
Very
wraps
calmly.
it in.
No.
No, yeah, no. Well,
I
I mean,
bet she
at this
handled it like
point,
a
you're
champ.
dealing with shock. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you just.
but I mean, she wraps her thumb. She tracks down her boss. He's got headphones in, so she kicks him in the ass and gets his attention and says, "Hey, take me to the hospital." And she was, I mean, she was not fine,
But she was handling it.
She was
emotionally,
handling herself.
she was
solid.
Well,
Yeah.
she was what she.
Yeah.
She
her-
needed to be.
things
Yeah.
didn't hurt until they started giving her
Yeah.
shots to numb the area, or
Right.
she didn't show pain until they.
It's like,
they
okay,
gave her
I'm in a
shots to-
safe place now. My
Yeah.
body can relax.
Well, if it were me, I would have been wailing and screaming
that's-
and
to
crying
be
the
fair,
entire
that's-
goddamn
I
time.
feel
To
like
be fair,
that's-
that's what you think, but the human brain
yes.
Process
There's a
that
reason that
trauma,
your body
yeah.
does that.
is amazing because, like,
It's-
we were talking
yeah.
about just a second ago, like being able to, like, I was talking about how I burnt closed wound.
Yeah.
You were in Discord with me.
Yeah, I remember
when
when you
happened.
did that. Yeah.
I was home alone with my kids who were extremely tiny this bit. Their mom was gone, off doing her own thing. And I was walking down the stairs with an old clay pot, like that put plants in and stuff. And my asshole neighbor's kids had left a Coke bottle on the stairs. Okay, so I have trash in my hand in this old clay pot. I step on this fucking bottle and I fall down these stairs. And when I fell, the pot went out of my hands and it shattered. Well, I get to the bottom of the fucking stairs. I'm like, my fucking leg hurts so goddamn bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think maybe I sprained it. Maybe I
Yeah.
broke it. And then I look down and I have a huge wedge of ceramic pot sticking in my fucking calf.
Like,
And-
whoa, Jesus.
Let me
And
guess. As
like-
soon as you saw it, it
God,
immediately
I don't think that's a
became
sprain,
worse.
buddy.
So I've got kids asleep in the house. I've got nobody there with me. And this thing is just sticking in my leg. And it's like it's good. It's a good wedge
Yeah.
of pot just sticking in my leg. And I'm like, I'm gonna pull this out and I'm going to bleed.
Everywhere. Yeah.
So in my brain, I was like, I've seen westerns. I know what I'm doing. I fucking put the fucking kitchen knife on the fucking stove and I heat it
Sear
up.
that shit shut.
Oh,
And I'm talking
no.
to Matt and Caleb as I'm doing that. I was like, if I pass out,
Call 911.
call 911. And I did the generic shit. I mean, on my life, I bit on a wooden spoon and I fucking pulled it out and I stuck that bitch to my leg.
Rambo'd that shit. Cauterized.
Hey, and you know what? It fucking works.
I mean,
It
yeah.
fucking sucked.
There's
but
a
it
reason
fucking
it's
worked.
like
Yeah.
portrayed
But my
in
kitchen looked
Feel
like
like
a
that.
fucking crime
things.
scene because there was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was a process. But I was calm the whole
Ooh.
time because I was on the thing with him.
Yeah.
I was like, this fucking sucks, and I was like, and this is gonna hurt, but I was fine.
Well, I can fortunately say I have never and will hopefully never have to be in a situation where I find out how well I take a severe injury.
and now
I
I got
know-
a big butcher knife sized burn mark on the side of my leg for the rest of
I
it.
know how I handled it when I got out of high school and I went to work on the pipeline and I watched a guy get run over by a bulldozer.
He got toothpaste.
Yeah,
Oh.
it exactly how you
That's
think.
traumatizing
Yeah,
just to
no,
see.
yeah.
I bet.
I was 18. We had just stopped for our lunch break, and he was grading a hill, and someone had left like a big piece of rebar right in the middle of the hill where he was grading. I don't know why he did it. I guess he thought he had enough time, or he didn't lock it out, didn't do a function lockout or nothing on that equipment. He just hops out real quick, goes to move the thing, and he turns his back. I mean, we all saw it happen because we're sitting down in the shade watching him do this. I'm like, what is he doing? And he hops out, and, he just starts running in front of the thing, and we notice, like, it's still moving, like, on a slant, it starts to move down, and it freaking catches him leg, and we're maybe like 80 yards away. And so we just start sprinting because he's screaming, help, help, help. And we start running. Everyone is running to him. And by the time, I mean, we couldn't get to him fast enough, and it just right over the top of him. And it was like toothpaste, but everything out the front of it.
It is the law of toothpaste. You're going to roll something up. The stuff's going to come out somewhere.
I have never... I hope to never have to.
It's crazy that the most stuff like that happens from just a stupid split-second decision.
And it's really what it was. And it was
avoidable accidents.
Yeah, it was 100% avoidable. Like, anyone, he could have called anyone of us over there, hey, come move this for me.
You get comfortable with stuff you do. And you get
I wonder if there was a speech at the next safety meeting.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I won't say the company or anything like that, but we were so far behind in production that we couldn't shut down. So the next day, they're like, hey, this is what happened. There's someone here at the office that can talk to you guys to counsel with it, but we got to finish this job, and shit's got to keep
America.
moving.
That's how it goes.
Gosh. Yeah, that's terrifying. When I was a forklift operator, they made us watch videos of people dying to hammer home safety.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And one of the worst videos I had to watch was this. It was a guy on a large forklift that was like a container forklift, and he was doing his job correctly, but maybe not. It's hard to say.
Well, maybe not if he's dead.
No, he's not.
There had
dead.
to have
He's
been a
not the one
lesson
who's
there.
dead. So I don't know what the regulations are for him moving the containers, but the container was blocking his view.
Yeah.
What happened was a man who had his face in a clipboard walked out in front of him.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
And the most like heart-wrenching part of that video was seeing what might have been a foreman or somebody on site ran to go help, stopped about halfway there, turned around and threw his hat to the ground and his clipboard. Yeah. And it was like exactly. And it's like just the emotions that man must have been going through.
Yeah. It's one thing when you're obviously the person experiencing it and another person as like a bystander. I mean, we were running as fast as we could to this guy, and it was too big of a distance. Nobody could do anything. Yeah. I remember we were maybe about halfway there, and it rolls over the top of him, and he's gone. And I remember just throwing up everything I had for lunch, just and it was everywhere. I went pale.
You can't take that memory back either. It's in there.
I remember because this happened in, I can't say where it happened. It happened in Carrizo Springs, Texas, right out by the border. We went back to my brother's because I was working with my brother at the time. We went back to his RV and proceeded to get fucking blackout drunk. Yeah,
Understandable.
He's like, he had seen it a couple times. He's like, you're gonna want to forget some of this, and I don't know. I guess I'm cursed like that. I remember fucking.
Oh yeah, no, it just burns Zach there. It's fucking.
That's one of the main things you'll always remember.
On these somber notes, let's get into this.
Yeah, what a dark turn.
On that, one more note before we go on, because talking about the needle and thing. In Atwood, Indiana, we had a 4th grade fucking teacher that every year would show her class an eye surgery that she had. She had a video of it. I don't know why and how they let her do this shit. And my sister watched the same video I watched. She went to the same school. Every year, she would, after she had that surgery, she would sit her students down and be like, here's a video of my eye getting cut open and doing this, and show it to a bunch of fucking 4th graders.
I wonder if all the 4th graders warned the younger kids, like, by the way, when you get up to this grade. My sister told me about it. I'll tell you what. You're going to see a video?
Her telling my 3rd grade ass that, in 4th grade, she's going to show you a video of her eye getting cut open, did not prepare me for what was on that cassette tape.
It's like when my friend in middle school showed me, like, 2 Girls, 1 Cup. It's like, dude, you got to check out this video.
That's a different breed of horror.
Yeah, that's
you can't prepare for that.
To dwell on this longer, like, that's something I don't get how people can, like, Darwin Awards stuff. I know I think there was a movie or something that was called Faces of Death.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Faces of Death. Subreddit where you can go and just watch people die. How can you just elect to go watch people die and be okay?
I don't know.
I think people's brains are all built different.
Yeah, there's a part of their brain that just isn't quite
like
the same way that you can set plans with somebody driving 5 hours out and be like, I'm gonna go get food instead. people's brains work different.
Yeah.
Different chemistry. The same way that there's people that can go and murder people and sleep
Yeah.
fine at night.
It's those people.
I just I never want to be like that. Like
I know.
I want.
It's like-
I
Chances
want,
are, if you're not like that already, you're not.
Yeah.
So-
You're not gonna be like that.
Yeah, you don't ever have to question
like
yourself.
I want to feel bad. Like
Anytime I witness or come close,
I
to
think the first
accident-
time
Maybe it's to like
Death.
they have trouble feeling things in general, so like that's
Yeah.
the only thing.
the
that really
first
gets
time
them.
I ever saw a human being die was in school.
I mean, this is a
In
light-
high
this
I know
is
this is
dark.
a
great
like,
episode.
really
I'm-
dark. Like, I don't
but-
want to tell my story.
I
anymore.
hope I didn't bring this dark
I
energy.
was in health class. No, it was a history class, world history class, and our teacher made us watch a video about the Vietnam War.
Oh,
And
yeah, 'cause
one of
that's
the
a
clips
fun
in this
topic.
video were executions. And
The shit they used to be able to
You're-
show.
I
yeah,
know. I feel like
you're in
today,
high
like that doesn't
school, and you
fly.
don't think what's going to happen? You see this soldier, and a bunch of American soldiers are lined up, and this Korean soldier is talking. You don't understand what he's saying. And then he just walks up,
Gets his hands up and everything.
puts his weapon to somebody's head, and pulls the trigger. And you just see the man drop while a fountain of blood is coming out of his head.
Okay, that trumps my eye video from 4th
I
grade.
mean,
And,
I do know that
Well,
they.
I wasn't in 4th grade when this happened. This was maybe my junior year of high school. So I was
Jeez.
much more able to handle something like that.
There used
But
to be some
again,
sketchy stuff on YouTube too.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I had
before.
friends that would like look up people like drinking bleach and then just vomiting blood, and I'm like,
Oh,
why
I mean,
are
you
you
still see like
watching
I
this?
still see videos pop up on like TikTok and
Oh, yeah.
on YouTube of like, oh, here's a person minding his own business and is suddenly taken out by a tire. It's like that person is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you show this?
Listeners, we're on this note. If you were one of these people that watch these videos,
Maybe there should be a
Seek some
trigger
mental
warning.
Yeah, it
call
might
somebody.
Yeah.
Talk it out.
might be need a small trigger warning
Clear
for
your
this
browser
first
history.
Just a
episode.
minor.
Ask
Show.
yourself why it doesn't bother you.
And then
And
email
talk
us
to
at the
somebody
United States of
about
Maybe
it.
this will
Paranormal
get
at
some people to think
gmail.com.
about their choices.
Because we want to hear from you, man. We want to.
But let's get into this. I want
Alright.
to say spooky story, but
On
I
a
imagine
lighter
it's not going
note.
to be as rough as everything else we
I know
talked
it's
about.
it's
most-
kind of peanuts compared to what we've been talking
We go,
about.
well, let's dive into something a little lighter.
I know.
I mean, it's a paranormal podcast. It fits.
I know. To this, it's like soft core.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the theme of this,
Everybody-
the theme of the
Everybody
episode's
remembers their
softcore.
softcore spooky.
I know, soft core. Let's take things down a notch. Shall
Does
we?
your story have a gorilla in it?
No,
All right.
it'd be cool if it would.
Yeah, it would. Makes
Uh,
everything better. I learned that last night.
But yeah, so this story is from me personally. It's about a time I was like truly haunted. It was 2009 when it happened, when it occurred. It started. I was in
Lock
high
on the
school.
trademark on that. I don't think I've ever heard of a show called Truly Haunted.
Truly haunted.
And it could be sponsored by Truly. Eh?
Oh
Eh?
shit! Okay, then we're spinning off ideas.
Yeah, we're locking that down.
I mean-
how you get ad revenue.
2009, I was a freshman in high school. I had just moved away from my hometown to San Marcos. Oh, this does take place in San Marcos, Texas. So we're in Texas this time.
Sick.
Trauma in Texas. Come on.
We're used
Yeah,
to that.
your personal trauma.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
But yeah,
The scars inside are big and wide.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
but yeah. So 2009, I'm a freshman in high school. Just moved to San Marcos, Texas, from my hometown where I've spent the past 13 years of my life. I'm 14 at this point.
We're all 14 inside.
New kid going to the new school. So I'm 14. Who has control of any kind of feelings and hormones and shit? So I'm all kinds of anxious and awkward and
I had my shit
sad
locked down.
and depressed.
That's because you're just a walking vessel of ADHD.
Would that be locked down? Then I feel like that would just be everywhere. It's like a fucking box of spaghetti noodles chucked on the floor.
So yeah, I mean, I'm in the throes of prepubescence. So
That's hot. I like how we
Oh,
worded
thank
that. I'm in the throes of it.
in the throes of prepubescence. So obviously, I'm feeling very alone because I left all my friends in my hometown. The only thing to soften this move, the blow of this move, for me being, exiled from my hometown, is I had a friend who had moved up here there
It
previously.
makes it sound like you did something fucking horrible.
Exiled.
You're exiled from
That's
your
how it
home.
felt
was
when I was
shunned.
14 years old, man. I was exiled. I was ripped away from my home.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
I mean, for a
military brat.
14-year-old, that's
What do you mean?
that's
I
a
wouldn't
big deal.
know.
Yeah,
Military
I mean,
brat.
I
it's
was
like,
adamant
hey,
about staying
meet some
at my
friends.
school.
Yeah.
Now they're gone.
Yeah, I know it probably sounds like I'm a huge wuss, but I mean, I guess this was like a sensitive time in my life. I'm
Fair
getting
enough.
personal. But yeah, I had one friend who moved up here like 2 years previous or a year previous, so he was like my only friend at this new U. I went from like high school of like max 200 people to a school well over 500.
Well, that fucking sucks. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Go from a small fucking.
That was my
school
worst
that had,
fear.
Like
Yeah,
40 people to
So-
Yeah.
tons.
I'm socially anxious. I'm going through, the throes of it.
I'm going through changes.
Changes. Charles Bradley up in this bitch.
Or the original artist, Ozzy
Ozzy
Osbourne.
Osbourne. That could be two. That could be it too.
Yeah, it's a
But
spooky
I like Charles Bradley's
podcast.
version
Ozzy
better.
Osbourne.
Me too.
Yeah, it hits so much harder.
Ozzy Osbourne's son is a huge paranormal advocate. I just watched him hunt Bigfoot with Jason Mewes the other night. That was fucking awesome.
So, moved to this new school. I'm alone, feeling sad, and this has like
You
I
keep
think,
harping on how sad you
I know,
are.
because
Matt, it's a hard time. He's a teenage boy. He's going through changes. He's in a new place. He can't trust basketball shorts or sweatpants in public. Give the man some space.
I harp on it because I think it has a lot to do with the reason like this thing attached itself to me.
That
No,
is
that
very
makes
a
true.
lot of sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
goes with something we talked about before. Is that it's always been a thing where they were like paranormal shit. Always seemed to like, especially young girls around. The
Damn.
Time, yeah, hey, around the time of like puberty change, where they're at their most like emotionally volatile and changing.
Yeah.
Spirits are like, I'm gonna get in on this.
Oh, Lord. So did we just introduce a whole bunch of bad energy into this building with the intro? Because
I mean, it definitely made it harder for me to sleep tonight because I'm gonna be having mental flashes of everything we talked about.
That's
Look,
fantastic.
we have been here at this building spookiest. It's fine. It's not.
I
haunted.
trust y'all.
This is a place. This is a
I feel
boring
safe.
place. It's
Brandon's
not
energy
scary.
alone is already warped to this room.
I mean, I've been
We
on college
literally-
campuses
to
late at
interrupt-
night. It's
to interrupt
fine.
this story, we literally like came in here the day of the live show to get equipment, and the theater was pitch black
Oh,
with a single
shit.
light that was just flashing uncontrollably.
Onto a couch that was in the middle of the stage. We
Yeah.
walk in. He's underplaying this. We walk in, and every monitor that is in the hallways of this bitch was on that couch, on that black stage with that strobe light just hitting it.
You're waiting
and-
for something to
and-
pop
and-
on
and
up
when
on that
I
fucking
noticed this
screen.
shit-
You're like, bro.
When I noticed this shit, I had been separated from both these two. And it's hallways everywhere. I'm still not super familiar with this place. And I'm just seeing every monitor is just a couch on a black screen with strobe lights hitting. I'm like, what in the grudge fuck is going on? It's just flashing over and over again. I was like, what spooky shit are they filming there? And Matt's like, nothing. Somebody fucked up and left the light on. And I was like, well, can we fucking do something about this?
Because I'm getting serious, like fucking paranormal activity
Oh
vibes
man,
here,
it
dude.
looked like a fucking scene they pulled off The Ring on the video.
Yeah.
Like it's just a flashing chair, and you're like, what's gonna pop up in this chair if I keep watching these fucking monitors? Am I gonna die in 7
Secretly,
days?
it's a casting couch. Ooh.
That's a movie we need to make, the haunted casting couch. Filled with the shame of thousands of people. Ugh. Anyways,
I know. back-
emotional, sad Felipe and
Yeah.
and-
Billions of kids died on this couch.
well, the theme was supposed to be softcore.
I know. It's just getting more.
Casting
and
couch is not softcore, sir.
more. Ooh.
You can continue. We're in
Can I?
podcast. You can try.
I know. It's a pretty traumatic time in my life. We're having a good laugh about it. But anyways, so me and my friend, I don't know. Can we say names?
I
Or-
mean, make up a name just in case that guy's offended. Or is like, I was never his friend.
Yeah, I would say probably better to not
Call
call
him
him
Skeeter.
out by name.
Call him
Not call
Skeeter.
him out.
I mean, you could probably call him a first name.
I mean, he was a like my.
We don't want
best
to
friend at
dox
the time,
people
yeah.
on here.
No, well, no, I'm not gonna do anything like that.
Just call him Skeeter. Doug's Funny's best friend.
Skeeter.
There you go.
Okay,
That's
fine.
Skeeter.
No, because Nah, fuck it. I'll call him Skeeter. I'll call him Skeeter. Makes it sound too impersonal, and people are gonna be laughing. It's like, oh, he means the guy from Doug.
He was a good friend.
Yeah, he was a good friend, and he still is a good friend, even though we haven't talked in like years. But me and him, obviously, we're into like a lot of the same stuff. We love paranormal stuff, scary stuff.
Did you get out a fucking Ouija board?
No,
Okay.
it's not
All right,
like that.
I was about to yell at you.
no, I've learned from never to do that.
You've learned, so you've had an experience.
No,
Or you've
Learn
seen.
from other
You
people.
learned from
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
okay.
bad
No, the trick
Okay.
is the trick is to learn from other people's fuck
yes.
ups.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. But what we did like is to go ghost hunting in graveyards.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Edgy
That's not
as,
invoking any bad
edgy as fuck.
and ironically, this shit happens on Halloween night. We have this great idea. Well, we had the idea. We pitched it to his mom and dad because I was staying with him for Halloween night because we had just gone trick-or-treating with our friends and shit like that. And we're like, it would be really fun. Let's go record stuff in the graveyard down the road. And his parents were like, yeah, totally. Like, we'll bring
Solid parenting.
Well, then again, his parents were very they like that stuff too.
Well, also, it's the 90s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 90s, early 2000s.
2009. Yeah.
Yeah. God, how young are you?
He's younger than me.
What? How old are you?
14 and 09.
20. Jesus.
Fuck.
I think
I'm over here.
28.
I think I was
I'm
a
over here being
junior
all
in high
31 and
school.
shit. And I'm like, of course Felipe was born in 1990 like I was.
Yeah, I
1991.
always forget Felipe is even younger than me.
probably the
'cause
only other person here in my
When we
20s.
came to this school, you were in this school before me. But
Yeah. I was 18 when I wasn't here. Yeah.
Wow.
2009. So I'm
We're old.
14 years old at this time.
you're old. Speak for yourself, sir. I'm not 30 yet.
But
31.
anyways, so we get this idea to, go ghost hunting in this graveyard. And hold on, I have some facts about the graveyard just because I like to throw that in there.
Dead people
Just to
are
make it believable.
To
Now
make
for
it
the fact
believable.
section.
To give some facts about the graveyard.
Go, ghost facers.
Don't worry, these facts are totally made up.
No, they're true. The name of the cemetery is the San Marcos Blanco Cemetery. It was established in 1893 and is reported to have more than 400 graves with headstones, but far more unmarked graves than marked ones. The site is 10.62 acres of land, just
Okay.
open land.
And 8.6 acres of dead people.
Yes. 400 graves, marked graves, but almost double unmarked ones. So it's almost like no matter where you walk, you're going to be walking over a dead person, kind of.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Hey, here's a thought. How many
God.
people do you think sneak into graveyards to bury their loved ones in random holes at night? Like, how many mornings has a grave keeper gotten up and walked out? It's like, who left their body here?
No, you're
I would
giving
hope
me
not many, because it's cheaper. It's like, fuck that.
That's
You're
my
giving me-
thought.
Sorry,
you're
Grandma.
giving me Jason
People-
Lives
people
vibes
get
there,
desperate.
where Tommy Jarvis goes out there and digs up
Oh
Jason
my
and
gosh.
ends up actively bringing him back to life. And when he goes to get the sheriff to show Jason's out of his grave, that gravekeeper got out there all drunk and he's like, damn kids digging up bodies, and covered it back up and acted like nobody was ever dug up. And they're like, was this grave messed up? And he's like, no. Oof.
Sorry, I have to.
Oh, you're good.
let
It's
my
the
wife-
magic of editing.
I'm not editing any of this.
I drank cemetery water at a graveyard in Orange.
What?
Like, from a
because
water
it was
fountain?
it was me, David Ellis, his brother LJ, and a few other people went trick or treating. We're just fucking around on Halloween.
Uh-huh.
And I was fucking thirsty, and we were walking through a graveyard, and there's a tombstone out there that has a water spigot attached to it. I know.
His last
As an
dying
adult,
wish
I'm
was
like,
to make
"No,"
sure
but
everyone
as a
stayed
teenager, I was
hydrated.
like, "This is metal." David was like, "Dude, that's a tombstone. It's got a guy's name on it." I was like, "Yeah, but this is on here." So maybe the guy was like in death. He was like, "I never want anybody to go thirsty."
That was
or
my
It was
thought.
something far worse.
Yeah. How's that pipe ran?
I don't know, but it literally comes out of the fucking gravestone. And it
weird.
works. And we thought it was maybe it was just he was a plumber or some shit. And so it wasn't gonna be functional. But I turn it and water comes out. And I was like,
Drink some of that.
all right. And David was like, no. He's like, don't. What if that? Like, I was like, what? It's not like the plumbing is run to his body. I was like, if it comes out and it doesn't look like water and doesn't smell like water, I won't drink it. But it did come out. It smelled like water and it tastes like water, and I drank it.
That might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of anyone do in a cemetery.
Besides this, I'm sure. So we go to this graveyard, and it's Halloween night, so it's already like supposedly, the devil's night, as they call it.
You gotta get metal.
And we're like totally meddling out in this graveyard. We're like, yeah, we're all about that life. We drive out there, and the thing's gated off by like this huge perimeter of like chain link fence, and it's like one big gate that opens up wide so a car can drive through it. But we don't, drive in because it's locked. And here's the thing, we kind of like broke into that motherfucker because there was like this huge gap in the gate where you could just go through.
Slip right
Fun
through.
fact, for people that go to the graveyards at night, usually there's postings saying you're not supposed to
Yeah.
to
Like a
stop
chain.
shit like this.
I don't know,
like
like
kids
a
going and
padlock.
looking at stuff or kids drinking out of tombstones.
Yeah.
Normal shit.
And I remember his parents had brought like those old VHS camera recorder things.
Uh-huh.
The one that, takes like the freaking...
This sounds like a found footage film.
It probably could be, dude. And I remember, it was quarter moon waning. So there was, some light, not a whole lot. So it was kind of dark.
Can
We
you give us
get
the
there.
coordinates of the moon as well?
Huh?
Can you give us the coordinates of the moon as well?
I cannot. I did look up to make sure it was like a quarter moon, though. Because at first I was remembering it. I'm like, I remember it being very dark, but I know it wasn't like a new moon. But I made sure it was a quarter moon. So we get into the graveyard. We immediately, we didn't even bring any flashlights. This is how freaking, naive we are. We're just like, oh, let's go with no flashlights. All we have was a little shitty camera light on our phones at that time. I remember my phone, it was one of those like Motorola like flip phones, the slide ones that you had the text keyboard on it.
Uh-huh.
It had like the shittiest little like flashlight on it for a camera. I'm like, that's all we had. And like the camera had like a small little piece of shit light on it too. But that was about it. So we get in there, we get through the gate, and we're like, oh, we're looking at it. And the graveyard is, to describe it, I mean, you can see vaguely, and the headstones aren't like regular headstones. They're like little plates, the ones that are on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Poor man's tombstone.
Yeah, and they're just kind of everywhere, and it's like there'd be one tombstone kind of sticking out of the ground. It's like, man, there's really not anything out here. I figured a graveyard there'd be a lot more headstones. We just couldn't see them. So we're like, all right, this is a great idea. Everything's going good so far. I mean, my feelings at this time, I'm still just excited. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so exciting. Like, this is fun. I've never done anything like this before. It'll be cool. It'll be a cool story to tell our friends when we go back to school. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends at the time.
This will make me friends.
It's weird. It's almost like the guy that was sad all the time and hung out in cemeteries didn't have a bunch of friends.
I ended up having a bunch of friends.
I want receipts or I don't believe you.
You
He
wouldn't
made
know
friends
that
with
they
the
live in
ghosts in the
Canada.
cemetery.
Yeah.
Were your friends
Well, they made friends
live
with
at the
me.
cemetery too? Quick question. Did the cemetery have a hospital?
No, there were no hospitals.
fair
It was big enough to have a hospital in it, put it like that. I mean, it was a massive fucking graveyard.
10 acres, yeah. That's
10 acres. I mean,
Corpse-a-palooza.
yeah.
I hear people are just dying to get in.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you.
Fuck.
So,
That's our show, everybody. Good night.
I laugh at everything. You're welcome.
so we get in there. All we have is these little lights on our phones. And we're like, all right, well, let's walk to the back of the property because there was like a little footpath through there. So we're walking through there. Let's walk to the back, and at the very back of the property is like a wooded area that actually, in that wooded area, is more of the graveyard. Well, let's walk back there to the graveyard area, wooded area, and we'll kind of walk around the perimeter and back up to the front. Sorry, my hand's moving all in front of the microphone.
No, that's
All right.
fine.
They didn't know till you told them.
Can you hear me now?
It's still better than Brandon, who will lean all the way back from the microphone and then lean all the way in differently as he's speaking.
So we walked to the back of this thing, and the whole time we're walking back there, you can kind of see throughout the graveyard. Like I said, it's mainly a couple trees out there, like big tall trees, little headstones, and then nothing, just but open kind of field. And as we're walking through here, out of the corner of our eyes, I'm seeing like shadows. I'm like, well, obviously there's shadows, but as I'm kind of go to look at them, they kind of waver out from behind the trees and then immediately go back into the shadow of like the trees and the bushes and stuff. I'm like, I'm noticing it. I'm like, surely somebody else is noticing it. I'm like, are you guys seeing this? And, instantly, yeah, we see them. I'm like, oh, shit, okay, I thought it was just me. Maybe I was just freaking myself out. I was like, no, we see him. My friend, his parents are like, yeah, we see him. They're there. You're not hallucinating, buddy. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's reassuring or terrifying. So as we're walking back there, see the shadows over the corner of my eyes, but then they start to become more prevalent. Like they start, as I go to look at them, I see them dashing between like the headstones and the bushes and the trees. It was just a quick shadow between, things, objects in the field. I'm like, God damn, am I really seeing this right now?
Were there any noises to go along with it, or was it just silent?
It was very quiet.
Because I feel like if I saw that, you could hear a pin drop. I would just be standing there just frozen, listening.
Yeah, we were in a group. There's 4 of us, so we kind of I felt a little safer being, the 4 of us. Yeah. Especially with his parents there. I'm like, well, adults are there, letting us kids make bad decisions and participating in those bad decisions. So we get to the back of the property. I'm seeing the shadows, and we have, obviously, everybody has the great idea. Oh, let's split up.
Oh my gosh.
We'll take, his parents will walk to the left, and we'll walk around to the right and just walk the perimeter and meet back up at the front. And, we're like, okay, that's cool. And on my phone.
So when you split up, did you go with Freddie and Daphne, or?
No, I went with Shaggy.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm Scooby-Doo in this situation. Yeah, that's a good name for him, Shaggy. So me and Shaggy walk off to the right. And we're walking around the outside perimeter, and the same thing. I'm starting to notice, like, the shadows of the trees and little tombstones get longer. Like, it's really weird because, the moon's hitting them from one position.
Uh-huh.
But they're wrapping around. They're moving, and, like, they're facing us and getting longer, like, reaching out toward us. It's fucking weird. So, well, I'm noticing that, and I'm like, you seen that, Shaggy? And he's like, yeah, I see it, Scoob. Yeah, I see it, Scoob. Ruh-roh, Raggy. As we're walking around, we come to, there's this one tree in the middle of the path. It's a big oak tree. And as we get to it, there's a little plaque that's labeled on the tree. And we get up to it, and on our phones, we also, have like little shitty voice recorders. And we're like, oh, let's have a little, like, what is it, EVP session?
Yeah.
On our phones, let's just record and ask, dumbass questions. So we get to this tree, right, and we read the inscription. It says this one section of the plot of land is dedicated to, children, like, infants, toddlers, children that have died. This is where their plot of land is, so it's where all the kiddies are. And we're like, that's a great idea. Hey, kids, do you like violence? No. So, we both have the voice recorders open on our phones, so we're standing right next to each other, and we're asking all these dumbass questions, like, if there's anyone here, let your presence be known. And
you just offended a bunch of paranormal investigators. That's their main go-to. As
I know.
Dumbass questions like, if you're here, spirits, let you be heard.
But we were asking, like, can you say something? Can you talk to us through the microphones on our phones?
Sounds like
shitty little
phasmophobia.
Yeah. And about that time, we hear this freaking scream, dude. Like, it was, obviously we're both kind of spooked, but it was loud, and we were like, oh shit, we jumped. But we heard it, not through the phone, but we heard it, outside in the environment. And it turns out at that time, there was these fucking drunk, like, college kids driving down the road next to the cemetery. I guess they saw our car, and we're like, ah, screaming out the window, see if they could scare us. It did. We shit our pants.
Yeah, fair enough.
And we're like, oh, fuck, that probably ruined the recording. So we stopped the recording, and we're like, well, let's listen back and see how loud the scream was. So we were listening back, and we're both recording at the same time, right next to each other. So we should have picked up the same thing, right? He plays his back. He gets the scream, but no other sounds.
Yeah.
I play mine back. You hear the scream, and then very distinctly, you hear "Mama, Mama," like a child saying "Mama," and I was just like shaking. I'm like, "You heard that too, right?" Like, that's not on your phone. He's like, "That's not on my recording. It didn't pick up on my recording, man."
Wow.
It's-
Were you guys like close, like super close to each other, or were
We're
you in a?
standing right next to each
Okay.
other?
They
I
were
mean,
holding
obviously
hands.
we're like freaked out. It's like, hey man,
Right.
don't go too far, man.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
And that happens, but it was the eeriest thing because I mean, two phones recording at the exact same time. It only comes up on mine, and you know we turned the volume all the way up, and you hear like the asshole college kid scream,
Mhm.
and you hear very clearly a child's voice say "Mama," and we're like, "Okay, I think that's good enough for me, man. Like, I'm ready to go." So we finish walking around the perimeter of the graveyard, meet up with his parents at the front, and promptly like haul ass. And you know, as we're driving back to his house, I'm playing the recording for his parents, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's incredible!" They're like super stoked. That's incredible. Like you actually got something on, you know, recorded. And the whole time, like, I really don't. I want to push delete because this is freaking me the fuck out at this point. I'm like.
If you delete it, it never happened. It's fine.
And I'm like, oh, this never happened. This is denial. But we must have replayed that thing like 50 times, dude, for us and his parents.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And I'm like, well, what do I do with it? And my friend's like, well, send it to me in a text message. You know, send a copy of it to me, and I'll save it on my computer. I didn't have a computer at the time.
I was gonna say tear that little audio file apart and just.
I know. We wanted it because we wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it because they wanted to keep it. Because
Yeah.
that's like good like evidence. Like that's really interesting that you caught that. It wasn't till later that I discovered why. Like it only occurred on my phone. Nobody else caught anything that night. They didn't their camera didn't pick up anything. He didn't get anything on his recording. It was only specifically tailored to me. So that night, I sent him the file as a text message file. He's like, all right, well, I'll save it to my computer in the morning while I go home for the night to get the most littlest amount of sleep I've ever gotten in my whole life. And the next day, the following morning, I text him like, hey, man, did you save it to your computer yet? Because I want to isolate it and, see if we can get a better quality sound out of it. He's like, yeah, man, you sent it to me, right? I'm like, yeah. And I have the text message where I sent it to him. But the file is blank. I'm like, okay, well that's strange. So I look up, try to find the file on my phone, and I find it, but it's blank. I think we recorded the whole video, the voice recording was like maybe 2 minutes, and it was just blank the whole time, like it was quiet. I'm like,
Oh wow.
no, we all heard that, right? And I sent it to him. Same thing, it was blank. It's like this can't.
So you were able to play it, but there was just nothing on.
Yeah, like all the
I don't
sounds, like,
know
you
anything
didn't
about
hear
that
us-
side of things,
Yeah.
but
we didn't hear us asking the questions. My file was blank. His recording was still intact though. Like you could hear us talking and asking questions and all the other good shit. But my
the one
recording-
place where it was.
I know that the actual proof was evident was now blank. So we're like, that's got to be a coincidence. It's like it got corrupted or something like that. Like that sucks that we kind of lost it. I didn't really think much about it. They're like, all right, well, that sucks. But we all heard it. 3 other people can confirm that they heard that audio recording. They experienced it. So it's there. It's just gone. Well, that was just the start of the experience.
Oh.
I guess that's where it kind of, whatever it was, attached itself to me and proceeded to make my life hell for the next 12 months, essentially.
Jeez.
This kind of stuff always just
Yeah.
strikes me differently.
But,
attaching.
for 12 months, and it happened in October, so, a full 12 months later is when it finally kind of came to an end. So shortly after that night, I'm finding it harder and harder to sleep in my room. And I remember very distinctly, it always emanated from the corner of my room. Like this, something in the corner, looking at you. You felt eyes on you. You felt a presence in the room. It's like, this isn't normal. And, you know, it keeps playing in my head. It's like, dude, something followed you. Something followed you. Something is in your house now because your dumbass brought it home from that graveyard. And who knows what is in there.
Or the history behind any of those deaths.
Yeah, any of that stuff. So who knows what has followed you home. But I remember I would lay in bed, and it progressed from month to month. It would get more and more intense. It started off as just like paranoia, like, I don't know about this. Feeling a little uneasy, little chills, little stuff like that. And it would start to like really build up into like dread. So like 3 months down the road, I remember I'm like loathing the idea of having to sleep in my room at night. I'm just like, fuck, I don't want to be in my room because and here's the other thing, it always progressed and like came to a really peak point of like tension at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Always 3 o'clock.
Yeah, which is like a sacred number because it's supposed the witching hour, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah, they do it to mock the Holy Trinity.
Yes.
What's the speculation behind it?
Number 3.
Yeah. And the fact, I mean, that only reinforced the fact that I'm like, it's got to be something bad because it's only ever happening at 3 in the morning. And it would, like I said, I'd be laying in bed and it would just escalate to the point where I'm like, I'm trembling. And it's not that I'm like really scared. It's just like, I just feel an overwhelming presence of
uneasiness.
Yeah. I'm like, God damn, dude. And then, once again, it's just in the corner of my room. And it's just the darkest part of my room. I got to the point where it's like I had to sleep with the TV on just for some ambient light. But even like with the light on, it felt like the corner of the room was so dark that it was sucking in light. Like any light source in the room, it immediately was like devouring it. And like I said, after 3 months is kind of where it really got to the point where I was really like dreading sleeping in my room. Another month passes. I'm getting like no sleep. I think there was a period where I didn't sleep for like a solid 2 weeks. Like I would get maybe an hour of sleep right before the sun came up and have to go to school the next day. Terrible stuff. And what would bother me the most is whenever the feeling would start to like reach its climax, the shadow that was in that room would like lunge out toward me. But I'm thinking I'm hallucinating because I'm so sleep deprived. I kept telling it's like I'm just tired. I'm seeing things, but it was very clear now thinking about it. When I would reach my maximum point of anxiety, it would reach for me. Wow. Because I guess it was I was the most vulnerable.
Yeah,
then.
like that.
It was it was coming for me. And I think it was about 8 months. Yeah, 8 months exactly after it happened, where I'm laying in bed one night, TV on, the freaking hallway lights on. I'm almost damn near sleeping with the room light on because I'm just terrified to be in the room at night. And I'm laying in bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so sleep deprived. I'm finally just passing out. It's the only way I'm getting any sleep. And as I remember very vividly, I close my eyes, and immediately as I close my eyes, I felt something grab my foot, and I'm sleeping on my bed. Something grabbed my foot, and it yanked me from my bed to the foot of my bed. And I remember because I woke up and the covers were over my head. Like I'm halfway down my bed, my legs and everything are hanging off the end of my bed. It's just like my torso and stuff. I'm like, what? And I freak out and I throw
there's
the
your
covers
proof.
off. Yeah, but I mean, it was like it was just waiting for that one moment of unconsciousness. Is like,
oh jeez,
it pulled me,
God.
and I remember I said, "Fuck that! I'm not sleeping in this goddamn room anymore. I'm done with this." Threw off all my blankets. I grabbed my pillow, and I'm like, I'm sleeping on the couch now. Like, I am no longer... The room is off limits now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's no longer for me. It can have it. I'm
for
done with the
anybody
room.
to continue to sleep in that room, like...
Well, the thing is like, my parents this whole time, they have no idea what's happening to me. They have no idea that I'm like getting no sleep. I'm bottling everything up, and that's making me more and more uncomfortable, more and more anxious.
You're just alone and everything.
Yeah, and because it, you know, is my dumbass fault for that this is happening. I don't want to drag my parents into this at all. Like the less they know, I'm like, it's whatever. I can handle it. I guess they have that problem. It's like I can handle shit on my own. This was not the case.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with stuff like that, though, is like stuff like that feeds on it wants you to be isolated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was perpetuating, because it was like there was times where I wanted to let my mom know. Like I said, my mom's very Christian upbringing. There's times I wanted to let her know, but something in me is like, don't say anything. Just don't say anything. So I ran with that. So I'm sleeping on the couch now. And I'm still terrified. Now every night it's just dread. As soon as the sun goes down, I'm just like, I already know I'm in for a rough night. I might as well just accept it and try to watch TV all night. I'm sleeping on the couch, and directly where the couch is, you get a clear shot of the hallway that leads to my bedroom. And I left the hallway light on. I'm like, the light's not coming off. Nothing. It's staying on all the time. And I'm sleeping on the couch, and I keep hearing shit move in my room. Like, things would get knocked over. The door would rattle, like, very briefly, on and off for, like, 2 seconds at a time. And it would only happen, maybe 5 or 6 times. And then it would stop, and then I would hear just stuff move in my room. I'm like, okay. It's contained in there. It can't get through the door. Whatever it is bound to my room for whatever reason. So the whole time I'm just terrified, looking down this hallway, waiting for it finally to break the door open. And yeah, I think month 9 is when I guess it hits the pinnacle of the torture that was my life at this point. So still running on very little sleep. I'm still not sleeping well at all. It continuing with all the rattling and stuff in my room, and kind of a loss for words to describe the amount of tension you have in your being at that time, or in your body at that time. Even retelling it now, like
it's hard to convey stuff like that, because like the atmosphere alone. When an event like something like that is going on, the room you're in as a whole feels physically just like this is what tension feels like.
Yeah, like the room is filled with it, dude.
It feels like it's
bad energy,
like something you could like if swing hard enough you could cut through it. It just feels like it's like a heavy,
thick,
dense fog.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And I mean, yeah, that's a really apt description of the feeling I had. It's like it was permeating from my room down the hallway and into the living room while I was trying to sleep. And this night, the hallway light had finally burnt out. Like, I had left it on so much that the bulb burnt out.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And it happens, once again, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm nodding in and out of sleep, just trying to stay awake. I have the TV on, so there's very little dim light. The hallway light goes out. The noises start up, and I remember whenever the hallway light burnt out, I'm just deadlocked on the hallway. Just, I don't even want to blink. I'm just staring intensely. I'm like, it's coming for me now. It has to be. Like, the only light that was keeping it at bay is now gone. So I hear the door rattle. I hear stuff move in my room, and speaking of that, when I would go in my room the next morning to get ready for school, like, shit was obviously knocked over. Like, I had a little computer chair in there that got knocked over.
They love computer chairs.
I had a PlayStation 2 that was on the floor. The controllers were across the room. I'm like, Jesus. Like, even more evidence to freak me out and increase. But at the same time, I always have the doubt. I'm like, dude, you're just so sleep deprived. You don't remember doing any of that. You obviously moved your stuff around. You obviously did that. So trying to like adequately say like this is real, part of it he wants to say is like, no, you're just so sleep deprived because you were so freaked out, you scared yourself and made all this up in your head, and continuing like with the continuing with the idea of self-doubt or self-doubting myself, like, this is not really happening.
Yeah.
And I keep going off on tangents. I guess because it is hard to talk about.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm laying on the couch. The light goes out. I'm deadlocked on the hallway. The noises start up, and they stop. I'm like, well, I don't like that they stopped, because what does that mean? And I remember, like, the hallway's so dark, but it comes running down the hallway toward me. It's darker than the hallway. Like, I can distinguish the shadow from the darkness of the hallway. It doesn't make any sense, but it's like...
No, that makes perfect sense, because if you're in the living room and you have the TV on, you have
There's
light.
some sort of light.
Light is going to bounce off of surfaces in the room and down the hallway.
Yeah. I distinctly remember it. I mean, it was just this big
like
shadow, but I could distinctly see its legs. It corporeally, it ran, like sprinted, and it got to the edge of the hallway, just where the TV light was at, and it reaches out toward me. And it's a little embarrassing to admit, but I fucking screamed. I said, ah! I can't scream real loud now, but I screamed, I had to, like, the tension was so intense. I had to let it out somehow, and obviously I was scared out of my mind.
You can't compartmentalize that stuff.
Yeah, because here comes this dark shadow from my hallway that's, I'm convinced, is a demon or some kind of negative spirit, but it's finally had enough of being contained in my room, and it came for me, and it reaches out toward me, and I remember it reached out its hand long enough that it went through the light on the TV screen, and I felt like it reached halfway across the room, and then it just, like, evaporated or disappeared. And, sorry, I got to look at my notes, make sure I'm getting all the details in it.
Well, that's not good. We did it. I mean, I've got notes right here.
Yeah.
Logan always comes with notes. We know what it's like, especially to lose your place in your notes.
Yeah. But that happens. I scream. It doesn't wake anybody up. I don't know how loud it was, but I'm sure it was loud enough to wake somebody up. But luckily, no one woke up. And like I said, my parents, to this day, I don't think they really knew. Because I was living in a trailer at the time. I didn't think that. It was a small trailer. 2-bedroom trailer. So it's not like they heard me scream. They wouldn't have, like, woken up and, like, oh, what was that? Because I was in the living room, which was, the kitchen, and then their room on the other side.
Yeah. I've lived in a trailer like that before.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I'm like, that happened. They didn't wake up. And, I just kind of sat there not blinking until the sun came up, and then tried to go to school and function. But I'm like, that was the most intense thing that had happened to me as of yet. I mean, you really felt like when it reached out, it's like you felt like it pulling toward you and trying to pull you in. I'm like, phew, terrifying. The only way I can describe it.
Yeah, well, because it is an event like that is something that is very hard to describe.
Yeah. Even I'm saying it now, like, I'm kind of
yeah.
jittery.
No, you just.
I'm not sure it's the bang.
Especially with, like, how long you dealt with it. It's just...
Yeah, that's a long time.
In the thick of it, you've got an inevitable feeling of, like, it's not if it's going to get me.
It's when.
It's
like,
when.
how much worse is this going to get? How much longer? Like, now, looking back, luckily nothing bad happened. You're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
But when you're in the moment, you're just like, okay, is something really bad gonna come out of this? You just don't know.
Well, and it
keeps building up.
What it does is it strives to first and foremost isolate you, which leads to depression, which it just gets you closer and closer to. Most of the time, it's assumed that its end goal is to get you to the point to where you hit, for lack of better terminology, the fuck it wall. To where you get to the mental point to where you're like, I rather it do something so it's over.
Yeah.
And that's where it wants you. That's why it wants you separated from people. It wants you alone. It wants you sad. It wants you to just want to be done with it.
Yeah.
And that's
And at that
just
point,
seems like where it was pushing you.
yeah, and
Lack of sleep, depression, feeling alone.
And like I said, yeah, that hits every nail on the head. Is I was just waiting for possession would be the next spot for it to like embody me or take me over, whatever the hell it was, or maybe its whole goal was to just feed off of my negative energy. Because not long after that, I mean, it took another 2 or 3 months, to like almost to the year of Halloween to the date for it finally, I guess, to leave me alone. And slowly, like, the anxiety went away, the tension went away, the dread went away.
Sounds like to me, and like I am by no means a professional or anything like that. It's not like, to me, spirit wise, it's something I've mentioned before, not on. I don't know if I've mentioned on the show or anything, but it kind of ties into the Waverly episode. There at the Waverly, there is known to be a figure that is just a black mass that looks human-esque but does not move like a human.
Yeah.
And these are something that's been in literature and documented is Bodak Greys. They're inhuman spirits that go to places that are swallowed up by grief or bad things have happened there or bad things are going to happen there, i.e. your funeral or your graveyard. It's a place that is just full of negative energy for the most part. And they latch on to people that are feeling extreme emotions in one way or another, and they will basically terrorize them until they get their fill.
Yeah.
And then they fuck off. Usually Bodaks aren't known to be something that's like it's going to possess you or something like that. Like I said, it's not a demon. It's not a human spirit. It's an inhuman spirit that has an end goal of basically jarring people. Like the one in Waverly is known to lash out at people, not harm them, but like
just
act like it's going to.
The maximum amount of terror in you.
Because in that brief second of sheer terror, it's getting more energy out of you than it would with just sitting there and scaring you. Because at that point, you think it's done. You think it's coming for you.
Yeah.
And that's the way you describe it. To me, it comes across to like it's lunging at you and it's jarring you because it's getting more and more out of you. And it seems like when it got you to the point of like you couldn't be more sleep deprived, you couldn't be more scared, where a normal spirit would be like aiming for possession or a demon would be aiming for possession at that point. At that point, the Bodak's like, I've gotten what I can get out of him, and leaves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Like I said, not a professional.
I didn't even know about a Bodak.
Yeah,
what do you call
Bodak
it?
Gray, and it's like it's something like it's talked more about in like Irish literature and stuff. And then there's been people like Dean Koontz, who writes fictional books, who has talked about Bodaks. Bodaks are talked about in Odd Thomas. They're just spirits that linger around places that bad things have happened, are going to happen, or places that are just enveloped in. They go where they're going to find somebody in a bad enough state to where they can latch onto them and get what they want out of them, which is energy.
Sounds like kind of like the Babadook.
It's like you were in a cemetery, and you are already a ball of emotions. You're a teenager, and you're reading something that is utterly depressing. You're reading a plaque that's like, this is for unnamed children and infants. This is their plot of land. And it stirs up something specifically with you. It says mama. So that makes you feel a way, because like I know if I heard that, I'd be like, oh, fuck, that's a kid that wants its mom. And that hits you. And it got what it wanted out of you specifically and attached to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been a good day away from it hitting your buddy instead of you. You could have had like a great day, and they'd be like, all right, this guy's better off than this guy. I'm going home with this guy. And it seems like it, for lack of a better term, it found you and it saddled up for as long as it could.
Wow, a whole year of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I turned 15, and I remember on my birthday, it's like I didn't even want to celebrate my birthday. And my mom and dad loved to celebrate my birthday. We'd have, family over and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, because like I said, for the most part, if it was a demon or something like that, it sounded like it would have possibly gotten what it wanted from you, because you hit that emotional rock bottom almost. But the fact that it fucked off makes me think that it was something like a Bodak, because you hit emotional rock bottom. At that point, it has nothing else to gain from you.
Yeah.
So it goes back to where it came from, or it moves on to the next person.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's kind of an anticlimactic
Well, no, it's a great
ending, but like, yeah, that's how it ended. It,
Probably
That
more
is-
reassuring for you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know
I mean,
that.
That's a haunt.
Well, like
Yeah.
the people that have not had an experience, I don't think grasp it the way that people that have. Like with you talking about it, I can like. And you're sitting there saying like it's hard to describe, but then I'm like I sit over here and I describe it to you, and you're like, yeah, it's like that, and it's because me and myself, I have had an experience, and like I had one of the experience, a recent experience I had. I was on the phone with Matt, and I just keep saying over and over to him. I was like, I wish I could explain to you how this room feels. I was like, because I was like, I can't. I was like, all I can think of is the word thick. I was like, the atmosphere
it's
feels
dense.
thick.
It's
Every hair
Yeah.
on my body feels like it's standing up, and I've got chicken skin.
yeah.
And it's like, and it won't go away. My eyes keep watering. It's like there is a physical presence here, and I was like, and when I walk out of this room, it doesn't feel like it. But I walk back in this room, it feels like soup. I feel like I'm in dense fog, and
That's
the
a good-
unshakable feeling of something being there.
And that's a good like fog because everything felt foggy from me being sleep deprived. I'm like,
Well, it's where the
everything
term "the veil" came from in the first place. Is like if people trying to describe it as like the veil of fog,
Yeah.
and people have been like, "How do I describe this feeling of this presence, this that is enveloping me?" And they're like, "It's like a veil of fog," and that's where the term "the veil" came from. Spirits live in the veil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah, me neither.
but yeah, I mean, well, to say that, yeah, that's what happened, and then I said it went away. My dread went away. I was able to eventually go back to my room and sleep in my room just fine. Peace washed over me after that. I was just thankful it was over because I no longer felt the loneliness because it was strange at that point is because after that night I started making friends, like good friends. Like I hang out with a new group. That's also when I was like introduced to like weed. So I started smoking a bunch of weed with these skater kids at my school, and we all became pretty close. And we went swimming in the river in San Marcos and hung out. And I'm like, it was like I developed normally after that, but it was just that year of my life was just. It's just like you never forget it, dude.
Oh no, and it's easier said than done. And I know we are a primarily jokey podcast. We spent the first half of this talking about softcore porn, then went into body horror. But the important thing to know, this goes for spirits, and this goes for just fucking depression. When you feel alone like that, if you can, reach out. Because just on the paranormal side of it alone, when you're isolated like that and you're alone, you're just going to get worse, and the things are going to get worse because you're putting out. Not only are you giving it what it wants, and yourself are breaking down, but you're putting out just that energy it's just powering it up. It's making
like
everything
a
worse.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Just talking to someone. I know it's easier said than done because I went through something, and Matt's been there just the other weekend where my parents were talking about it, something, and like wanting me to talk about something that happened to me because they've heard it secondhand from somebody else. I had a thing happen to me that involved 3 other friends, and in all fairness, like it hit me worse than it hit anybody else. That's how I feel. The place where the event happened is where I was living by myself, and I ended up in a hospital for over a week at the end of it. And like everybody was like trying to push me to tell the story, and I don't want to because I don't want to
like invoke that.
I don't
feeling
want to.
again.
It's the worst, one of the worst things that ever happened to me in my life, and I don't want to ever let that get a foothold in again.
Yeah, because he can
And-
drag you right back down, man.
But that's a testament to people not reaching out because my parents are saying this to me with Matt in the room and everything, trying to get me to talk about the story. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to do this again. I was like, you remember when I ended up in that hospital for a week with a fever of unknown origin? Full-ass trained crew of doctors could not tell people what was wrong with me. I woke up one morning, I could not move, and I was there for about a week.
Jeez.
Lost tons of weight, that like it was at the pinnacle of everything. I had been isolating myself. I've been reaching out to my friends less and less, not telling anybody. And my parents were like, said in front of Matt, we didn't know that that's when that was happening. And that's not on them. That's because I didn't tell them. I didn't reach out to them. I didn't reach out to my sister. The only reason people even know this thing happens is because the other people that were involved talk about it.
Yeah.
I do not talk about it. I have a paranormal podcast where I guarantee you I will never fucking tell this story.
That's your
It's true.
experience,
I
not
have
for other.
I have known Logan for years, and I have not heard this story.
Because
As a matter of fact, I'd only just heard about this for the first time incredibly recently.
because it's not only the fact that like to me it would make me sound crazy. I fully believe in the paranormal, and people that know me know I believe in it.
Yeah.
But it is just so outlandish that it just.
I know.
But I don't want, like I said, that'd be to me that's like asking somebody that was in D-Day
Yeah.
to be like, hey, come to a historical reenactment of this.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you want to roll the dice on unloading all that again or having it and revisiting it? I
How
don't
do you
want to.
feel like hearing like stuff like this and exploring the paranormal like relates to your experience? I don't want to interview you about it, but like, how does it help you deal with your experience?
Sitting here, to be real with you, I'm not, as far as like, and Kayla can vouch for me on this, I am not when it comes to certain things, I'm emotionally stunted. I'm not a crier. Like, horrible shit can happen, I'm not going to cry. But listening to you talk to it was really, like, it was starting to make my eyes, like, tear up. Just because, like, I could see your hand shaking. And I could see how it hits you. And it just, like, it's like...
You're reliving the
It's
moment.
like in group when, like you have people that went through the same kind of trauma talking about it. And it just hits because it triggers. Because I can... Things that you're struggling to describe, and you're like, this isn't going to make sense to you because of this, but you're describing it, and hearing somebody describe something that you yourself had
personally
tried
went
to
through, you're
describe,
like-
but
And you
can't.
know you
Someone
can't
understands.
explain it to
Yeah.
any other
And
people.
it's just like you know what they're talking about, and it sucks because by you talking about that, I'm like, I know what he felt like, but on top of that, it's like it's also nice because you're like
somebody
else
Yeah,
went through it,
really,
and it
yeah.
makes you feel slightly less crazy.
Yeah.
Little
And you're never gonna
validating.
feel completely not crazy because
Yeah.
like the shit, your whole life you are told by people, your parents, your authority figures, that there is no monster under your bed. There is no ghost.
exactly
But then when it comes
to you
and it affects your life, it's different.
very
And this
much
goes
real
with
and-
everything. This goes with cryptids. There's people like Bigfoot's not real until you talk to that person that's whole life has been changed by an encounter with something, and they get to spend the rest of their life being told they're crazy or feeling like they're crazy.
The way I look at it, I am a skeptic, but I am not a skeptic in the way that, oh, you're crazy.
yeah.
Like I'm a skeptic because I have not experienced anything like this. But
I hope you never do. Like,
yeah, well, that's it. Like it would be nice to never experience anything like this. But to hear the stories from especially the people I know, the people who this person has never shown a sign of being crazy. Why would they make something or being a liar? Why would they make something like this up? It's not a matter of I want to discredit what it is. It's I want to know the truth. If it's not real, I want to know what led to an event like that happening.
What is the series of events that propelled this person to believe these things?
Yeah, like I'm more agnostic about it than in denial about it because I can't speak to your experience. I can't speak to the experience of somebody who has had a Bigfoot encounter. I can't speak to the experience of your mother and your grandmother. But it just leaves me with not knowing, especially like I said, I've never had anything like this happen to me. I've been through periods of my life where I absolutely would have been a prime target, but I was never in a situation for a prime target for something to attach itself to me. But I've never during that time in my life, I was not anywhere where something was pre-existing that could have attached to me.
Gotcha.
And so it's just lacking that point of reference or an event that would give me that knowledge or give me that understanding
That
or
experience.
that chance to relate. Yeah,
that,
exactly.
that real lived experience.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we did this in the first place. Like I said, we joke all the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's
I
absolutely.
feel like we weren't joking a whole lot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
but we started this because we want to shed light on people's experiences and stuff out there and let the listeners come to their conclusions. Nothing is set in stone. Like I said, there's people that have had experiences and that is fact for them, and there's people that haven't. And so there's two sides of the story. There always will be.
Yeah, and I think like my goals for this is to share people's stories, to dispel some of the stuff that gets played up to market something. Like when we talked about the Winchester House, I talked about how it's now owned by an amusement park company, and it very much feels like a lot of this stuff is being played up just to get people to go there.
Oh yeah,
to make money.
for profit gain.
Yeah,
or
those
whatever.
are the things I want to be able to dispel while giving people the chance to tell their story, share their story, and realize that they're not alone in their experience. Like you both said, you both have been through similar but different experiences that you can take comfort in knowing you're not the only person in the world who has had that experience.
Thank you
if
for
it's
that, Logan.
something
like even opened up a little bit.
yeah, and like a fully skeptic idea, even if it was something like mental and not an action. Say the paranormal's not actually real and it's something purely mental. At least you know that you're not the only person in the world who has gone through that psychological event.
That's a really
or
good way
if
to
the
think about
paranormal
it.
truly does exist.
Yeah.
Again, it's not solely picking you out
Right.
Yeah.
of everyone in the world. There's other people experiencing it, and you can again not feel like you're going crazy because there are people who can
Validate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That being said, like if you do have an experience and that you would like to talk through it, feel free to reach out to us, the United States at paranormal@gmail.com or any of our social platforms, because that's how I'm meeting you. You shot us an email, and I'm sitting here to listening to you. Like I feel like we've had a connection, and
Absolutely.
it helps to talk about it. Just like with any kind of trauma,
Yeah.
it does help to
Yes.
talk. You don't have to go in details. If you're like me and you don't want to flesh
Fully-
out your story in fear of it bringing something back up, that's okay. But you can still unload. You can still talk.
And the
you
awesome
don't
is
have to be
when
alone.
awesome thing is when you find someone who knows what you're talking about. You don't even have to go into detail because they just understand
Yeah,
it. And then you just
exactly,
have that
like-
mutual connection. You're like, we don't need to go into detail. I mean,
Like Logan did a very good job of like talking for me. And she's like, I know. Like
yeah.
I appreciate it. It's like it was thick. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
It was dense.
This is the first opportunity we've had to have somebody on and get them to tell their story. And I have to say, like, I enjoy doing the research and presenting stuff and sharing some of these, especially some of these well-known stories, lesser-known stories. But to get people's personal stories, I feel, to me, is much more meaningful than presenting a story that maybe everybody's heard of, maybe nobody's heard
Yeah.
of, but has in some way been shared when there's so
Right.
many people out there who haven't had the chance to share their story.
Yeah.
And so I thank you for really coming out here and sharing these two stories with us because they were both fantastic.
And like I said to
Absolutely.
you before, anytime you're in our neck of woods, hit us up. I'd love to be back in the studio with you. You could sit in on one of our cases or
Absolutely.
just talk some more. Like I said, it's just reach out, people. You don't have to be alone. Like I said, it's easier said than done, but it helps. It really does.
Don't suffer in your silence, people.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you can take away for this episode is there are other people out there like you that have experienced similar things in all aspects of life,
Yes.
not just through the paranormal.
Well, this is before I wrap up, I want to say, Boze, come home. We miss you, and we know words were exchanged and feelings were hurt, but we love you, and come back, buddy. Whenever you're done doing what you're doing. I want to thank Ashley for coming in and helping us.
It was so
and
much fun.
Yet again,
Very surreal because I listen to a lot of podcast content, so it's kind of cool to be on the other side.
Yeah. Likewise, like I consume a lot of podcast content from a variety of different things.
Yep.
I think I mentioned earlier that I did a lot of like production work for a podcast that specifically did horror content. So, to be able to talk about my own horror story really is.
Well, I mean,
fun
on the
and
talk
exciting and
of
great.
somber stuff that we talked about with death and paranormal and spirits and everything, it is cool knowing that we're putting something out there that will still be out there in some shape or form, and we're all gone too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So eventually, at one point, we'll be reaching out from beyond the grave.
Oh gosh. It could be 100 years from now, and someone finds like, who are these assholes?
Yeah, one day I might be the spirit that's isolating somebody. Ironic shit.
Hey, go listen to this podcast,
yeah.
man. Again, invading their dreams.
Ooh, anal tuberculosis.
I was literally about to say, like, Mom, there's a ghost in my room talking about anal tuberculosis.
He bends over and talks from his butt, man. Like Ace Ventura. Who's Ace Ventura?
But again, I want to thank Felipe for you drove a long ass time to come here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you coming down and talk to us. Anytime you want to do it again.
Absolutely. You guys are great. Keep doing what you're doing.
Maddie, thank you for setting up and everything, and being my partner in crime here, for lack of better terminology.
Well, I'll never abandon you, Logan.
Unlike some people. But hopefully we'll have Boze back in the studio next time and he can present a story.
Yeah.
We miss him. Kind of.
Anyway, this has been the United States of Paranormal Podcast. I'm Matt.
Logan.
Felipe.
And Ashley.
Y'all keep it spooky.
To support other Golden Mojo Entertainment productions, check out Golden Image Podcast, The Call Guys, and Murd Nerds wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. To see photos and find new episodes of the United States of Paranormal, follow us on our social media, Twitter at TUSOPPOD, or Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and Facebook, the United States of Paranormal. If you have a place that you'd like us to look into, or would like to share your spooky story that we can read on the air, please email us at theunitedstatesofparanormal@gmail.com.